So this next question of mine is still dealing with the interview I saw of yours earlier today. The reporter mentioned Jingoism. I've seen some comments on my trailer reactions for Uri concerned with Jingoism, and my suspicion is your entire focus is to simply like be true to the character in the script and honor the brave soldiers who portrayed in the film. But I wanted to know if you had any feelings regarding those concerns that people have.
Right. Firstly, we did get that reaction on the trailers that some people thought that it's jingoistic and all of that. But we were very confident of the product that we are making. And I'll reason that out for you. What happened after the film got released, because we were waiting for the film to come out and for the same people to watch the film first. And then after the film came out, so many of them were like, the first thing they wrote in the review was, thank God it's not what we thought. Thank God it's not jingoistic.
Okay.
You know, because you have to remove your personal political lens and then watch a film. You can't be watching it with your own political viewpoints.
Yeah.
So firstly, you have to understand if a soldier over there, if a commanding officer of a troop, he is using those words where he's like, unhe Kashmir chahiye aur hame unka sar. I don't know what the English subtitle for that would be. But like, those really heavy duty fireball dialogues that, they want Kashmir and we want their heads, or, all of those lines. You have to understand it's not a commanding officer from the army. He's not talking to civilians like that. He's not talking to his troops like that over breakfast. He is talking to his troops like that when they are just about to get on choppers, they are just about to cross that LC, go into enemy territory, and gonna do the dirty job for the country.
Yeah.
It's gonna be their conscience at test. When they pull the trigger, they shouldn't be thinking if I'm doing right or wrong by killing a person. At the end of the day, they're just doing their jobs. So he needs to pump them. And that happens.
Yeah.
That really happens. And in any country, when you need to pump your crew so that commanding officer, it's his responsibility that they come back alive.
Yeah.
And he's going to do anything that it takes to do that.
Were there any artistic liberties taken with the story that you're aware of?
After like 4 or 5 months of training, and we are like, okay, if not 100%, but we are like 30-40% military guys. So we are like, we have our chin-ups and we are like, okay, we can save the country and all of that. So I hope that day comes soon that I get to work with him. And just fanboy, just.
Were there any artistic liberties taken with the story that you're aware of? Or was it all as true to real life as possible?
There was some based on defense protocols and intelligence protocols, you can't share some information in the public domain.
Yeah.
So those liberties were taken. For example, the identities of the actual armed officers who had gone for the surgical strike, you cannot reveal their identities. You just cannot reveal it on public domain. So the identities were changed, the names were changed, their family, the history, the backstory, that was changed because you just can't reveal that. Some moments in the planning of the surgical strike, like for instance, yes, there was a special drone that was designed for this mission. There were, raw agents in Pakistan, they were giving information and, so all of that was going on. But to like the detail to the T, you cannot, because that's intelligence. You cannot give it to the world that this is what we do and this is how we do. You have to be in that same space, but you have to come out with your own idea.
Right.
And then you bounce it off with the military, and it's only after their monitoring and they give it a go ahead that we could make this film.
Your roles are very varied. So, you're kind of falling into that thing that you're talking about where you're like, you keep surprising people. One moment you're romantic lead, next you're like someone who's really edgy.
And a best friend.
Yeah, like
Sanju.
All these things, right? How do you go about choosing your roles? Like what draws you to a script?
Firstly, when I read a script, I am reading it from the point of view of an audience. I don't read it from the point of view, okay, I am an actor and they have pitched this script to me for this part in the film. I think of it as I'm paying this much money to watch this film. And I always read my scripts in like one go. I don't break it. I sit down for like 3 hours and I finish it like from start to end. So that I get the vision right. If I have to say a no, or a yes, it has to be that I saw the film.
Yeah.
Now, if I like it or not, based on that, I would say yes or no. Okay. But it's very important for me to see a film as I would watch it in a theater. So I read it from an audience point of view. And then when I'm reading the script or when I get done reading the script, it has to affect me. Like that emotion has to be translated. And if I feel affected, if I feel moved by the story, if I feel like sharing that story or that character with my friends, this is what I read today, this is a story, you don't know this story, I really want to share this story. That's when I know that, that first, the most important box is ticked. I need to feel as an audience. That story has to connect with me as an audience. Then, of course, it's a conscious decision that there is this quest as an actor that I want to explore different territories as an actor, different genres, different characters, different emotions. I don't want to repeat myself. I don't want to do something that I have done. I want to scare myself also. I want to shock myself also as an actor and test myself as an actor. And then there's obviously who's directing it, what is the setup like, what production house, all of that comes later. But first is when I read the script, does it move me as an audience? That's all I care for.
Go ahead. I think my next question is going to be one he doesn't like.
Okay. Uh-oh. All right. So Zero Cool 16 asks, if you could be a part of any movie from the past, Hollywood and Bollywood, which ones would they be and what roles would you like to play in them?
That's a big question.
Yeah.
Good question.
I wouldn't even know how to answer that, to be honest.
You wouldn't?
I don't know.
Yeah, even most of the times, even I don't know. And most of the time, what happens is your films keep changing. Your characters that you would want to play, some films, they just keep changing.
Yeah.
But
for me, it would be Uri in Lust Stories and Raman Raghav 2.
My most favorite film of all time is this film called 12 Angry Men. It's a black and white English film.
Oh, wow. That goes really back. Okay.
Yeah, that goes really back. And it's my most favorite film of all time. It's just sometimes you feel like, you want to be part of such kind of story. You want to be part of a film that is completely just blocked in a room. And, it's a great, I think it's one of the best written films. It's one of the best, it's for me, it's just my favorite film. So sometimes you just want to be a part of that kind of film. Of course, I love The Godfather and everything, but I dare not say that I would want to play Don Corleone because I would just shit all over because this.
I don't know, man. I'm convinced you could pull it off.
Yeah.
I'm convinced that you just lock yourself in a room for 5 days and then you'll be.
It's not your job to think how it will happen.
Oh.
There's a force that's taking care of it. There is something that's going to happen. You don't need to worry about how it's going to happen. But there are some parts like there's Mughal-e-Azam in Bollywood, which was played by Dilip Kumar Saab. That again, it's always like okay, something like that. If I get, it's never that part because you're so enamored by that performance that you don't want anything to change.
Yeah.
You just don't want anybody else to do that job.
Yeah.
So it's always like okay, something like that in that space, something like that. But it's never like I want to play that part. Because he's done it so well. That film is just so perfect in the way it is. Probably that's why it's affected you. Right. So you don't want to touch it. You don't want to change anything about it. But there are a few films that have a major impact on me, and you just feel like, if only I got to be a part of a project like this.
Right. So my question was, it's kind of stupid, but 7 years ago, I mean, did you think you'd be anywhere near where you are now? Because 7 years ago you were an engineer, you were just getting onto the set of Going to Wasipur. Could you have even imagined? That's my question. It was stupid. I'm sorry.
JB, I always aimed for it.
Okay.
I always aimed for it and I always worked hard for it. Never really, like I said, I've never really indulged in planning my life. I've never indulged in that. I've always focused on what I'm doing right now. So when I was a student, I just wanted to score good marks. When I was in the acting school, I just wanted to be good at that batch of 20 actors. When I was an AD, I just wanted to learn direction. When I was doing theatre, I just wanted to be good on stage. So it was just giving 100% to your present, because I just believe if I'm giving 100% and more than 100% to my present, the future will be better than what I want it to be. 3 years back in 2015 when Masan came out, if anybody would have given me a blank sheet of paper and told me that, okay, write the kind of 2018 you want. You just write the kind of directors you want to work with. I wouldn't have the balls to say that I'm going to be having a year where I'm going to be working with Rajkumar Irani, Karan Johar, Meghna Gulzar, Anurag Kashyap all in 1 year.
Yeah.
I could never imagine. I could never imagine that, but that happened.
Yeah.
That happened. Probably because I was never thinking about the future and I was only trying to give my best to the present. So I just want to keep doing that. So 7 years back, to answer your question, I wanted this to happen, but never thought. Like there's this beautiful thing that my mom told me once. And one of those disheartening days when you just come back home and you're like, Mom, I don't know, it just seems very far. Everything that I want to achieve just seems very far. And she's like, it's not your job to think how it will happen.
Wow.
It's not your job. There's a force that's taking care of it. There is something that's going to happen. You don't need to worry about how it's going to happen. Just make sure, just believe that it's going to happen. And that just changed my life. And I've always lived with that belief that, okay, it's going to happen. I've never worried about how it's going to happen because that's not my job.
Yeah.
So I've only given my best to with the job that I'm doing right now. So, and I've never really gone into the planning. So yeah, I mean, I've always aimed for it, but never thought how it would happen.
I like that.
I think that's awesome. That's a great philosophy. The other part of that question was, are there any actors, actresses, or directors you hold in such high esteem that when you work with them, you're a little nervous on set? Like, do you have fanboy moments when you get on set with anybody? Or is it like you're already...
I think it would happen if...
Sorry, I was going to ask, or are you just in the character?
Most of the times I am, and that's what has happened till date. I'm like, I treat him as that character, no matter how senior he is or whatever. Of course, after the shoot is done, and then I'll again go into fanboying that, oh my God. I'll pinch myself after the shoot is done. But I think the day I get to work with Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, it will be the day that I don't know how I'm going to act with him. Yeah. But I just hold him super high esteem. Probably he is one of the reasons I always wanted to be an actor, because I've grown up watching his films, and I think I hope that day comes soon that I get to work with him and just fanboy, just So I think it's gonna happen when I work with him.
Were there any challenges working with your father on Zubaan? Because to me that's awesome. Like, your dad's a fight choreographer and or stunt coordinator, and you got to work with an action coordinator. Like, what was that like? Like, were there any challenges involved? Because it's your dad, so.
It was the first time we were working together, and I've always, looked forward to this opportunity that when will I get to work with my dad. So big thanks to Moosa Singh, who was the director of the film and the producer of the film, that he made it possible in my first film ever, because that was the first film that I shot for. That was my first film. But Masan came out before Zubaan, and that became my first film. But it was always Zubaan that was my first film. Oh. So I shot Zubaan before Masan. So he gave me that opportunity in my first film ever. But it was just one sequence that we were together, and it was a sequence that we had to finish it overnight. We just had this one night that we had to finish, and it was me versus like 4-5 guys who've come to beat me up, and it's like an empty swimming pool. So I was very charged. I was like, I'm gonna prove it to dad. I'm gonna prove it. I'm also an action choreographer, son. I can do action. Come on, let's do it. So I was very charged. And I was, while we were doing a scene, they were rehearsing, like he was rehearsing with the team. And then I was a part of the rehearsal also. I was watching it very closely, rehearsing with them and everything. And so the scene had to start off by me being like outside the pool. And then they beat me up, and then I fall off the steps and go inside that empty pool. So I saw that, the stuntman doing it and showing it to me and all that. So we start shooting the film, and it's all shot handheld. So it's like quick. You don't need to change like the lighting. You don't need to change like the setup. It's just handheld. So the mood is tight. It's crisp. It's sharp, and it's like pacey. Okay, let's do this, that. So everybody's in the mood. And I thought when that shot is going to come, that I have to roll down the steps and fall down the steps literally and go into the pool and then start fighting. I thought, I'm going to be padded up. I'm going to get protection. All of that's going to happen because, it's the hero of the film that's going to fall. So all of that. So I'm like, okay, so okay. So dad is like, okay, now we're going for that shot where he's going to fall and evil. And then he just looks into me and he's like, okay, you ready to fall? And I'm like, you're not going to pad me up or something? and he's like, did you see the stuntman being padded up? I was like, no. He's like, you have to do it. And that's when I realized it's not my dad I'm working with. I'm working with an action choreographer. He's not being my dad anymore on set. And that's when I was like, okay, now let me be. And then I just did everything. And it was really one of my most memorable shoot dates ever. Like, it was very special for the both of us.
Wow. That's awesome. Wow. I imagine you feel a night and day difference from before you were known to being known with Ladies. This is the thing I'm most curious about. Like, how has that been? Like, I'm sure now you get approached.
Man, what do you guys think?
Prasang Negi asks, during your struggling days, what are the things running through your mind? He wants to know your state of mind when your aim seems to be very far away from you.
It's a testing time for sure for any creative person, for any artist, that you have to get up every morning, you have to go and knock doors and ask if I'm fit for audition, to just prove your words, to just tell the world that I want to be an actor, give me an opportunity. You know, so it's a testing time where your patience gets tested, your will to become an actor gets tested every day. Many a times you get like shortlisted in the top 3, in the top 2, and then you get rejected, and that's like, man, I was almost there and like almost touched it. So all of that happens, and it really tests your will. But you know, it's very important. Like and that is something that my dad told me. Whatever happens, 11 o'clock in the morning, you have to be out of your house.
Okay.
You have to be out of your house, meet people, try for opportunities, come back home tired. It's very important, because as actors, it's very easy to slip into this comfort space that, okay, let me watch 5 films today. Let me read 2 books on acting today. And then by the end of that day, you will feel, okay, I've done something for my craft. You've not done anything for your craft. Acting is a practicing art. You cannot read about acting and become an actor. Of course, it helps, but unless you implement it on the floor, you've not learned anything. You could read 10 books and go on floors, and if you're not feeling once the director says action, those 10 books are not worth anything. Keep practicing. Just no matter what happens, no matter how bad you are as an actor, no matter how much you have to grow as an actor, go out there, test yourself, break your inhibitions. Just keep practicing. Just be on floor, keep facing the camera. Giving auditions is a great exercise. When you're given a sheet of paper and you have to prepare something in 10 minutes and stand in front of the camera in the middle of like people, like 50 people, 100 people who are contesting for the same thing. It's amazing. It'll make you tougher. It'll make you stronger as an actor. It'll make you more confident. It'll make you, face your own inhibitions and insecurities, which is very important to break in the process of being an actor, process of being a good actor. So I would just say, don't worry about that. Just keep on practicing. Just keep on doing it. Just don't sit at home. Just don't get into a comfort space ever. Keep testing yourself. Keep pushing yourself.
So fight scenes are a huge pet peeve of mine when it comes to film, because I used to do fight scenes a lot. One of my small criticisms of Uri was I wanted the fight scenes to be more gritty. That's an aside. It's not that important. So, but I thought your work in the fight scenes showed great commitment, as you always do. And it made me wonder, when your 5 months of training were wrapping up, did you feel ready, or did you want more training? Were you wanting to keep it going? And the injury you sustained, are you all healed up?
So firstly, the last day of training, I just want to tell you how it was. So my training schedule went from 4 to 6 months of drill, where it started off in the gym because I wanted to gain weight. And then it went into the boot camp training where, okay, now you have to become these para commandos, special forces. So you have to go through a boot camp training. Then we were handed over to the military. The last final 2 weeks were with the military, who trained us. So they taught us, they let us use the obstacle training ground that they practice on, and they used to time us, and they used to, whatever, their drill was going on. They taught us slithering, which is getting down from choppers with the help of ropes, all of that without cable work. So we were trained in that. The film, there are no body doubles. There are no actual military guys who are doing it. It's the actors who are doing it without cable work. So we used to do mock drills of, attacking bunkers, supposedly, apparently, who's filled with 3 terrorists or 4 terrorists. We used to make teams, and then we used to get para-dropped 100 meters away from it, and then how would you go and reach there and you neutralize that space? So we used to time that. So all of those drills were going on. Last day of training, so this is after 4 or 5 months of training, and we are okay, if not 100%, but we are 30-40% military guys. Okay, we have reached the military status. So we are we have our chin ups, and we are okay, we can save the country and all of that. So, because we as a team had gone from starting the boot camp training with 10 rounds of the ground and going to reaching a stage where we could just do 30 rounds, 50 rounds, 60 rounds with the gun on on top of our heads. We reached there. So we were confident, okay, we are ready for it. Last day of training, the military guy is okay, so he's the commanding officer just instructs one of his boys saying, Okay, commando, just give them a warm up military style. 10 minutes of warm up military style. Like, bring it on. Let's do this. I kid you not. 10 minutes, and he was doing it with us. It's not like he was just instructing us. 10 minutes of warm up. Warm up at 6:30 in the morning. 10 minutes of warm up. After that warm up, one of us was puking. One of us was fainting. One of us almost left the film. And that day we realized. That day we realized that guys, they are a breed apart. We are nowhere
Wow.
close. Let's just concentrate on filming it. We cannot save the nation. We cannot save the nation. There are some things of some other level of training. They've put in years into it, and that's why they are where they are, and that's why they are saving us, and not the other way around.
Yeah.
So let's just save the country in the film and leave the job up to them. So it was tough,
Wow.
man.
That's awesome. This is the last question I have written down. Since the film's release, I imagine that wherever you go, no matter where you are or what time it is, you hear it. The same 4 words. So are you healed up then? Because I heard you sustained an injury while you were training.
Yes, I had a tennis elbow. This injury, my some tissue tore. It was like due to overexhaustion. There was some problem in my arm, so I had to every day. My program was that most of the action sequences, like you've seen the film, were night shoots. We used to shoot entire all the nights. I used to come back, and I had a cardio session of like I had to run for about 4 kilometers, have breakfast, go to sleep, wake up in the afternoon, then hit the gym again, do weight training because I have the tendency to lose weight, which I couldn't afford for the film. So I had to do weight training. Then I had to go to the hospital, do my physiotherapy session. I was having a sling bandage. My arm was perpetually hung for 25 days. And then I go on set, remove that sling bag, get into my SF costume, and then do the action sequences again, and then repeat this all over again.
Oh, wow.
So those physiotherapy sessions really helped me. But it was very demanding, but at the same time, like when you used to hit the bed, you used to feel like, okay, I've earned this sleep. I really like. So there was this thrill also, but at the same time, it was very demanding. But when the film does well, when you get so much love from people, it just feels like it was all temporary and it's all fine. But it's what's permanent is this what you get once the film is ready, and
Right.
it's to the audiences. So it's all worth it. It's just all worth it.
I have a silly question. I imagine you feel a night and day difference from before you were known to being known with ladies. Right?
And I can vouch for this because a lot of the questions that came through were all like, Vicky, will you have lunch with me? Like, I could be your matchmaker if you want me to.
So the thing I'm most curious, this is the thing I'm most curious about, like, how has that been? Like, I'm sure now you get approached, right? All the time.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
I'm saying this is the thing I'm most curious about because I'm sure you get approached by women now all the time ever since like you've become like a household name and everyone knows who you are. So what's that like? What's that like dealing like mentally? What's that like dealing with that?
I really don't know how to deal with it. Like I get scandalized like this. Like this. I'm like, man, what do you guys think? And I'm like, I don't even know how to respond to that. And I'll be like my friends know it and they're like, you suck at taking compliments. You just suck at taking compliments because I melt. Like I can be poured into a glass, I melt. So whenever that happens, I just smile like a fool and I'm be like, thank you. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I'm still working on it,
Okay.
but it feels special. It feels really special to get attention and affection from the opposite sex because it's special. And also with girls, I feel like with boys, it's like, okay, you've done good job in this film or you sucked in that film. With girls, it's like unconditional, man. Once they love you, they really love you, man. They're just, you give, like you do a crap job and they're still like, no, but Vicky, you're amazing. It's like from the heart. It's like unconditional, and I love it about them, and I really respect that. With boys, it's like you do a good job, and they'll be like, okay, you're good, and you're like, bad job, hey, get on.
This is the last question I have written down. Since the film's release, I imagine that wherever you go, no matter where you are or what time it is, you hear it. The same 4 words. How is the Josh?
How are you not going to ask that?
We literally asked the audience for questions and we were like, if you ask that, you will be banned. You're banned, all of you.
I have, through the promotion of this film, through the shoot of this film, after the release of this film, I think I've said this line about 94,578 times. But we never really expected this line to resonate so much, and people really sending us videos of, how's the Josh, hi sir, and like people like I've got videos from people who are at minus 37 degrees Celsius in some ice glacier, and two people, they are on their wedding ceremony. They're getting married and they're making a selfie video saying, how's the Josh?
Wow.
And the guys are getting married. And like kids, and like it just feels very special. You feel validated in the most beautiful way when the words that you speak, the people of the country really resonate with. The Prime Minister of this country in one of the recent functions said the same line, and I was like, whoa. So I was like it feels great, man. It feels great. So yeah. How's the Josh?
That's what everybody wanted to hear.
So I guess that's all the questions, man. We hit everything. But thank you so much for doing this. Very, very, very much appreciate it, man.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be talking to you, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. You have an awesome afternoon.
Thank you. Had fun.
All right, take care, man.
Bye.
Sorry?
I said you take care. Have a good day.
Bye.
Peace out.
Bye.
Oh my goodness.
Wow! I feel invigorated listening to him talk about his process and what he goes through and even just his life philosophy of, just focus on the present and the rest will take care of itself. Do the best that you can do in that moment and you'll get to where you're going. I'm like, that really resonated with me. I like that a lot.
Wow, this is kind of surreal. Because I've been paying attention to him since I first noticed him, and Raman Raghav 2.0, it was a very intense role, and then the next thing I see him in is completely different, the total antithesis of that. And then he's like a fixture in my mind now. I've just noticed how each role, everyone else noticed, is so totally wildly different.
Yeah.
And it completely drew me to him because he's basically living out my fantasy. I think you and I kind of feel the same way, that's the dream right there.
Exactly.
To constantly show what you're capable of and really stretching, what do you call it?
Your acting chops.
Yeah, your acting chops. And he's so cool to talk to. It's I just want to hang out with him now. This is so bizarre. Now I just want to.
I want to get drinks.
Yeah.
And we'll just chat. I would enjoy that.
I want a high right now. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this has been excellent. Thank you, Vicky, for doing this. Again, really, really appreciate it, man. And you all, thanks so much for hanging out. If you made it this far, I guess to use the question someone asked in the comments there.
Right.
If there was a role you'd want to see Jaby do from a Vicky Kaushal film. Wait, Kaushal. Kaushal.
Kaushal.
He said
Kaushal.
Kaushal. We'll look at the playback. If there was a role you'd want to see Jaby do that he has done. Put that as your comment. Then I'll know that you watched this all the way to the end. This was thoroughly enjoyable.
Yeah.
This is probably my favorite interview so far. Just because like this and Kalki, because both of them are people that I would love to work with.
Yeah, and they're really actors as well. They take their craft very seriously, but they're also just super fun to talk to. I personally feel rewarded just talking to him because it's cool. And we just watched Uri. Yeah.
Uri. And to hear the backstory, almost I'm watching the behind the scenes DVD, but straight from the source. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I felt invigorated by hearing about the behind the scenes stuff, the way he was expressing it to me. It's wow, I'm feeling that kind of just inspiration again.
Hype.
It's really cool.
No, and I'm feeling that fire under my ass right now.
I think that also speaks to just him as a person. And it's weird because he might be watching this.
Hi, Vicky.
But beyond his work ethic, there's also an obvious charisma about him that I think people kind of feel it when they're talking to him, and it lends it's of course Anurag would help him out because he's got a charisma about him, and he's just got a very genuine spirit.
Yeah.
And he just, like he said, he just wants to do the best job possible. And I think I identify so strongly with that. I don't think everyone understands what that's like to be that kind of person where you were just that committed and you really care that much.
Yeah.
For me, this was super enjoyable. I again, I'm very, very appreciative of the chance to do it. You guys, thanks so much for hanging out. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Check out our other reactions, reviews, and short films and interviews. I'm Jaby KOAY. This is
Achara KIRK.
Peace out.